Greetings from IAS. We want to welcome you to this very special program, United in Diversity. And today we're discussing racial discrimination. We have looked at the Western perspective, the Asian perspective, and in this special session, we're going to look at the African perspective. Before we start, I want to have a disclaimer that views expressed on this program don't reflect IAS. They are simply opinions of our participants. Therefore, if you have a question, please do not send it to IAS. Send it to our program, and I'll be sharing with you the email address at the end of the program. We want to thank you so much for tuning in and joining us, either you're online or on TV. Thank you so much for being with us. I have invited 4 Africans from 4 different countries, and I want them to introduce themselves, tell us who you are, where you come from, and what you're doing here at IAS. Let's start with the left side.
Good afternoon. My name is Ngo Betomol Anik Georgia. I'm from Cameroon. I'm doing my PhD in business.
Welcome, Anik.
I'm Dan Namanya. I'm from Uganda, and I'm doing PhD in applied theology.
Welcome back, Dan. I think this is not the first time we have had you here, so welcome back to the program.
I am Ebenezer Dankwa from Ghana. I'm doing PhD in curriculum and instruction.
Welcome, Ebenezer. I don't know if we have had you here or if it is the first time. If we have had you, it's been a long, long time, so good to have you.
My name is Ruth Pondi. I'm from Kenya. I've graduated from public health.
Thank you so much. Welcome back. I think we had a session where you participated. So thank you very much, and welcome back to the program. We're discussing racial discrimination today, and we want to capture the African perspective. And I want to start with one question. I'm going to ask our PhD curriculum instruction here to give us a difference. Is there a difference between racial discrimination and racism?
There are many nice definitions given to all of these, but when you come down to it, there is a discrimination. First, I would say that racial discrimination is where somebody is discriminated because of his or her color, the background, the community that he or she may come from. And then when you talk about racism, it is about making yourself or belittling somebody, or you becoming a boss over someone. So you see the person as inferior to you because of the person's background. And so, in short, that is the difference between racial discrimination and racism.
Okay, there is a lot of overlap, but let's try again. I will see you have tried, but I'm still confused. But let's try with Dan. Is there any difference between the two?
Actually, I'm also confused. But I think just what I read, racism is the belief that one color is superior than the other, which results into discrimination.
So racism is a belief that this race or this ethnic group or this country, people from this specific country are superior over another one. You may not act on it or not, but from your attitude, from your belief system, from philosophy, you know that you believe that this group is superior over the other, or my group is superior over the other. While racial discrimination is accompanied with action, it's actually something we can experience, either through words, through actions, through silence, as we learned in another program. Okay, I think we can we can accept that as the definition or difference. Which one of the two do you think is the most commonly experienced by Africans? I'm going to go to Anik.
I think is discrimination. Okay. You're talking about among Africans, right? Is discrimination. I think we can.
No, by Africans, either among them or Africans when they are with other people.
Other people.
Yeah, we'll come to that other question later on.
among Africans, I think we cannot be racist. I mean, we are black, you know. I can call you my nigga, you won't be offended because you're black. But if someone else, a white person or a Filipino calls me my nigga, I would be pissed. I don't know why, but I would just, like, you don't have any right to call me that. You're not black. Don't call me that. So I think amongst Africa, mostly in discriminations. Yeah. Like, in Africa, I'm from Cameroon, okay? If I go to Nigeria, let's say Nigeria.
But your neighbors with Nigeria, right?
But we don't like each other very much.
Okay, okay.
Without offense, huh? We don't like each other very much. For Cameroonians, Nigeria like more into corruption, you know. They are the one doing all those bad deeds, even if it's not true, you know. But still, that's what you think. When you go outside your country, you know, people look at your passport and they're like, you're from Cameroon? Yeah. Your neighbor is Nigeria? Yeah. So they kind of put you in the same, you know. They associate you the same thing. But I think it's mostly discrimination amongst us.
Okay, okay, all right. You are jumping ahead of me. You are addressing another question, but we'll come back to that. Let's go to Ruth. Which one of the two do you think is the most commonly experienced by Africans? Racial discrimination or racism?
Okay, for me, I would say it is both. First of all, when you talk about racial discrimination, it is mainly distribution, contribution, sharing of resources or facilities according to what other people think is suitable for this race, and that maybe the facilities are which are not very nice are suitable for this race. Just like an example somebody gave here of people coming from the village and they're treated this way, and others coming from treated different. That is discrimination. And it is, I can say it is very common to Africans. And when it comes to racism, there are positions, really there are positions, which can only be held by certain races and not other races. And I think it's very common in Africa to Africans, and even to Africans in other parts of the world. Yes.
Ebenezer, have you heard of, or have you experienced, have you had an experience where Africans were discriminated against?
Definitely, I have had that experience, and I've heard people also telling their stories about the experiences. Now, let me come to mine. The first time I landed in this country, I landed in Clarkville or so, airport.
Because it's about 4 or 5 hours
yeah,
drive
because
away
I came
from
with
here.
Emirates. They were by then landing there. And when we got down, we got to the immigration. People were going through. I said to myself, this is going to be very fast. There wouldn't be any problem. But when it got to my turn, I was asked to stand aside. This is what we call profiling. You know, racial profiling. They profile you because of who you are, because of your color. You know, and so I was there for some hours, and I was told there was a bus going to Manila, and the bus had left. Now, I was questioned and questioned. I told them, I'm coming to Ayas, I have my receipt, I have been accepted. They kept on asking me so many questions until they asked me, you said you are a pastor. Yes, I'm a pastor. So where is your ministerial credential? Fortunately, I brought my minister's credential. I showed it to them. And then they made the biggest mistake of calling somebody to come and talk to me about the Bible. That was their biggest mistake. The person who came didn't know anything about the Bible. I ended up lecturing him. After that, I was allowed to go. That was my experience. And there are many more that I can tell you, but because of time, I don't know if you allow me to continue.
It looks like God allowed you to go through this so that we can preach the gospel. Look at the bright side, Pastor Dangwa. Let's go to Pastor Dan. Any experience you've had? I know you have shared quite a number of things in the past. I want to hear one of those again.
I have many new ones. So let's use the old ones.
Share one thing new.
So the first place I stayed here, of course, was in the 1000 Mission Movement. And one activity we had was camping, and we went to camp far away in Bicol now. At night, there were so many mosquitoes. So I realized they gave everybody a mosquito net, except me. And they said, Dan, we are sorry because for the mosquitoes will not see you. And by the way, this is true. The whole night, I slept out of the net. But I was glad that the mosquitoes beat me. In the morning, my body was sore. So I told them, you see, mosquitoes can also see me. And I'm so happy that with mosquitoes, there is no racial discrimination. We should learn from mosquitoes. They eat everybody, black, white, red, yellow, because they are going for blood.
I don't know if you say amen to that or what, but you definitely got the point. Thank you so much, Pastor Dan. Any experience you've had or heard or seen?
No, I had one. Okay. When I landed to the Philippines, the same as Pastor Ebenezer. So at the airport, I had all my, your paper ready. You don't want any trouble, so you have everything ready, like you should. Then she looked at my passport and the documents, the document IAS had sent and everything. And she looked at it, she looked at me, and she just like, follow me first. Just please follow me. So we went to that office immigration. That place was packed of black people, my friend. I was like, what is happening here? And why am I the only woman among those men? Like, I don't feel comfortable. So they were just like, where are you here from? So I explained. Do you have your papers? I gave them to you. Yeah. He looked at me like, this can be forged, so I'm not really sure. So who should we call? Here in the Philippines, I was just like, you just call Dr. Brian, please. Just like, Dr. Who? Dr. Brian, yeah, call him. And then we were just like, are you sure he's going to answer? Just like, I don't know. You wanted someone you would call, so please do call him. I was tired, like 24 hours flying. It was 8 p.m. I was really tired, and I started to get, angry at that mind. We're just like, okay, let me call Dr. Brian. But I don't know. Aren't you Adventists? Yes, we are. But today is Friday. Isn't in the church? If you know that, so why are you asking me all those questions? You know you should be in church. Just try it. Called the first time, he didn't pick up. 30 minutes later, he picked up. I was just like, yeah, actually, the driver is waiting for her outside the airport, so she can go. And then I looked at him like, if the guy hasn't picked up the call, what will happen to me? You would have been flying back home right now. Well, oh, that's interesting. So,
wow. So people have had some experiences. Ruth, have you had any, or have you heard any, or seen any? Either here or in other places. We're not focused only on the Philippines.
Okay, I've had quite a number. Okay, the first one I can say was here actually. The usual airport thing.
So have you had one outside the Philippines? Because we want to see if there is something else done to Africans specifically that you have had
Okay,
somewhere
the
else.
one I've had here is the most interesting.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I want to use that example. Okay, first one, airport. You're coming in, it was the time of Ebola. So they assumed all Africans have Ebola. So I was put aside. I'm not sure if I was going to be quarantined or something with my baby. Then, okay, I had a yellow fever card. Yeah? Then I produced a yellow fever card. Apparently, they didn't know again what this is all about. So long as it looked like it's clean, I was told to go because of the yellow fever card, but they were looking for Ebola. Second one is, this is very interesting when you go into the bus. You're supposed to sit 3 people. So when I sit in the bus, nobody will sit next to me. And usually I take it very positively because I have space enough for myself. We call it the sitting allowance here is quite small. So for us Africans, we are a bit blessed, we are a bit big. So when people don't sit next to you, the better. In the jeepney, I've also experienced sitting on one side alone. And nobody is sitting next to me. Everybody is squeezing on one side, I'm on one side alone. But I always take it very positively because I have space for me and my bag and everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm very, very happy that we can talk about these experiences openly because by keeping it as a taboo, we are not actually addressing it. But by speaking about it openly, we are able to see where the issues are, and we can learn from that and improve a few things. Let's go to the next question. We're going to start with Ebenezer. What racial discrimination have you experienced or seen in Adventist schools?
Well, I have heard about it, and it's quite serious here in IAS. I can remember I was in office, the African Association, and I was the secretary. That is why you call me the Secretary General.
Yeah, yes.
And my president was there. So once we were there when a student came and reported to us that, there was a picture-taking session to advertise the school. And when the pictures were being taken in the class, those of color were asked, although they were sitting in front, they were asked to go back. And you, because of your color, come in front. And the picture was taken. And so they came to report. And so my president and I also went to the top there and reported that this is what has happened, so you will have to handle it. It happened. A student also, just last year, also told me that because of his color, he was given a lesser grade compared to, that was what he was saying, compared to others whom he thinks he is better than. Because he would ask questions. He would defend his position. It's a discussion. I'm giving my opinion. So why do you take that against me? He complained bitterly. So I asked him, well, you can go to the authorities, and make your case. But he said, okay, no problem. I will take the course again. And so I'm sure he will be taking the course again. And so these are the stories that we hear, even here, the Garden of Eden here.
Okay, that's very sad, and if it really is happening, it's a wake-up call for all of us in the community, because things like this should not be happening in Eden, as you said, it's Eden. Let's go to Anik.
Okay. When I went to Kenya, Baraton University. I did my master's there. So normally when you're a master's student, you're supposed to be two in a room. There are different dorms for masters and undergrad. But the dean of women put me in a room of 4. So she put me in a room with 3 undergrad students. Let us make this story short. After I ended up throwing a tantrum and fighting my roommates, her explanation was she didn't think I could understand what was written in the hand that she gave me, because the rules were written there, everything about dorm, and there's that book Adventists gave, the guideline for Adventists something. She said, I didn't think you would understand what was written inside there because you're from Cameroon. Like, first of all, I don't understand what my country has to do with anything happening here. Like, why? Like, you're not from Kenya. Like, what does it mean I'm not from Kenya? The sad part is she was not even able to explain. If you are going to discriminate or bully me, at least give me a good reason to do that, Just don't, based on I don't know what she was thinking.
So you're talking about an African discriminating against another African?
Yeah.
It actually happens.
It happens a lot.
And are we talking about skin color here or just countries?
Countries.
And that is what was mentioned in another session, that racial discrimination may not necessarily be just the skin color, but even the countries. One country against another one. Oh, you're from China. Oh, that's it. That's it. I don't need to know more. You're from China. Oh, you're from Cameroon. Oh, that's it. All Cameroonians, that's it. I don't want to associate with you. And it may be two people from the same skin color.
It's happened.
Pastor Dan.
First of all, in my college, at Mountain View College, some of my roommates were very scared of me. When I arrived,
Why? You used to punch them, Pastor Dan?
No, not I did not. But when they heard that I'm from Africa, some asked me, "Do you eat people?"
So Africans
Because
eat people.
they had this, especially in Uganda, they had that we had Idi Amin, and they had stories used to eat people. So when these were my roommates, and they're afraid the lights are off at night, and I said, "No, I don't eat people. And if I did, I would have eaten you already right now." And let me also share another one. There was a Congolese at Mountain View College. She left the school because she was very hurt. Why? Because every time there were evangelistic meeting and there were illustrations of suffering, they would portray Africa. You know, Jesus coming soon. There's so much famine. Look at Africa. And then they show pictures of Africans with bones. Sometimes drinking urine of a cow. And she was so hurt. She came to me, "Dan, why always Africa? Even Filipinos here, most of them are on the streets and dying there. Why only Africa?" And you know, she left the next semester. She left and she came to AUP. She could not take it anymore. So I think this was discrimination because I think suffering is everywhere, but Africa was always made the example in that case. So yeah.
You know, we have to be careful as scholars, and I'm almost talking to scholars. You know, sometimes you are required to make a PowerPoint presentation on things and so on. And if you're going to talk about poverty, you'll find that the tendency is to show pictures of black people and Asians. But let me tell you something. I lived in America for 10 years. I've driven in all the states except 4 states. I've seen the beautiful and the ugly. Just like any other country in the world, I visited in Europe, in Asia, and in Africa. So when we select our pictures, if we're going to talk about misery, let's represent all the ethnic groups or all the racial groups. If we're going to talk about Jesus coming for those who are pastors, show the pictures of all the races represented there. Be inclusive in what you are doing. Because if we continue using this media, sometimes we do it unconsciously because we have seen people do this over and over again. But let's try to be conscious about it. Let's show beautiful and rich Asians while we show poor Americans and Europeans sometimes. This will change the perspective that poverty is everywhere and riches are everywhere. Wealth is everywhere. It's not only on one continent or one country. Poverty is everywhere. Talk to anybody coming from California right now. They will tell you how many thousands, if not millions of people are living on the streets right now. So we need to present a balanced picture. Whether you're a preacher or a scholar or a teacher, a professor, a student, let's present something that is much more balanced.
Let me add just something
Yes.
small. There was one Adventist school that wanted a week of prayer speaker. And they had never invited any black speaker. But this time, one on the committee was a good friend of mine. He said, "We must invite this guy." And he tried his best until they allowed him to invite me there. But when I arrived, he told me the story. You know, it was war to bring you here because they only want white speakers here. But the week of prayer was so good. We had a good time, and God was with us. And they realized that too. So I think there's another problem also in Adventist schools.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we're done with this one. Oh, I think we're done with this one. Let's go to the last one. Let's go last one. How can we avoid or prevent racial discrimination at IS? Because it's, we need to clean our own house before we clean the house out there. I'm going to start with Ruth.
I'm sorry, I'll go to the previous question because I have an experience which I have to express.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
First of all, when I arrived here in IS, we are given we allocated houses even before you arrive. You don't know how it looks, so you arrive. Okay, so we happened to get this house, which there were so many things wrong about it. So I asked, I was not even a student. My husband was, but he didn't want to get involved in those things. So I asked if we could exchange with a house that was just being repaired, and it looks like it's better than this. Then I was told, no, that one is reserved for a particular race. You can't be given this. So I was like, okay, then I can say luckily, another house again remained empty. So I insisted that I want that one. I was like, okay, that one we can give you. But these other ones are reserved for particular race because they're even more expensive. I was like, okay. But anyway, in the end, the one we went to is a better deal. It's even better than the one that is reserved for that race by far, and I really appreciated that. Okay, the second one was in the school. That is my child. Okay, she told me that she went to the class. She was the only black. When she arrived, they say, another one? Because the other one had just left. So they say, oh, another one has come. Then there she was given a desk, she's seated. And I can say that they had a really good teacher. She didn't bother about the race and all these things. And it happened that the others didn't like the teacher because they thought she was now favoring my daughter. My daughter came from a very strong system of education. She could do her assignment on time, everything nicely. And the others were just playing around. So the teacher sort of had an interest in her. So when she told me all these stories, I kept on telling her, you know what? The only thing you can do to prevent all these things is concentrate on your studies. Actually, you're being given ample time. She had no friend. She had ample time to concentrate on her studies because she has no people to roam around with around here. And I thought that was a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. So these experiences are actually real. They are happening. Let's go to the last question. Let's start with Anik. What can we do practically? Just 1 minute.
I think what I do is I believe you should treat other people the way you like people to treat you, the way you want to be treated. Okay?
Golden rule.
Yeah. So you want people to respect you, respect others. You want people that the way you would treat yourself, do it to the same people, And I am tired of this racism and discrimination. We know it as we all know it is bad. And it still infuriates me that at these times we are still talking about it, telling people not to do it. We all know it's bad, And I'm just tired. Like, I've decided I'm not going to make excuses anymore. I don't like you, I don't like you. You don't like me. It's not going to change who I am, If you are going not to like me because of the color or my skin or the way I look, who cares? Man, it doesn't change. No, seriously, it does not change who I am. It has no impact whatsoever on what I do in my life. You don't like me, walk away. I don't like you, I will not talk to you. By the way, we don't have to love or like each and everybody. If we keep our life trying to figure out what people think, we won't have a life, my friend. And this life is too short. Try to accommodate everyone, each person, like, will you feel bad if I call you nigger? Oh, no, I should not. Will you feel bad if he has small ass? Oh, my goodness, you will not. Just sometimes it's exhausting, really.
All right, Anik. Well, that is one way. We have some who are Martin Luther King, and we have Malcolm X. And I think some here understand what I'm talking about. Let's go to the next one.
When you sent this question to me, the first thing that came to my mind was, am I a racist?
That's a good question.
And
actually, I wanted to ask Anik that.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this in another session, that at a certain point of our life, each one of us has either been a victim or a perpetrator of racial discrimination. And so, we don't want to project it only on other people. We have to look also to ourselves.
I don't think I'm a racist, you know? I think there are people and we are different. And there's good in everyone. And as you know, I just think there are some people you cannot stand. That's all. You know, there are people who are meant to be in your life, whether for good or for bad, you know. You just accommodate them and you move on with your life. That's simple. Yeah, simple. No, both of my parents are from the army, okay? In my house, my parents are just like, there's no time, no room for moping, crying, you know, just be logical. What is logical is what it is. You can do it, you do, you cannot. Men, move. You can love them, love them. You cannot pick what is good, what you don't like, just let it go.
All right. Pastor Dan.
When I was asking myself, there's one thing that happened that made me realize actually I'm also a racist. And there's a change that needs to be there, and that change must begin with me personally. When I was at MVC, of course, my wife, well, my girlfriend at that time, there's a Ugandan who came, and when I looked at that Ugandan, I laughed. Because he was so black. So I went to my wife, I said, you know, this guy is so black. I've been here for 9 years, I think I've forgotten that I'm black. It's only when I look myself in the mirror, and thank God for the mirrors. I'm reminded who I am. Thank you, Jesus. So I told my wife, there's a guy who came, he's so black. And my wife said, really? Let me see that guy. And when he saw him, she laughed. He said, you are more darker. So I think if you want to change, as a Christian, I must begin with myself. If I would change, because as Nelson Mandela says, there is no one born with hatred of one another. We just learn this thing. I worked in a house of Mama Zadio. I worked in her house, and one day I was sleeping in a chair, and a little girl comes, and she looks at my face, and I noticed somebody's studying me. When I opened my eyes, she was staring at me, and she talked very beautifully. Dan, why are you black? Very innocently, and I'm not sure how I responded, but I think if we just learn hatred as we go on in life, we can learn to love and teach others also to love each other. Let me say this one quickly. You know, our people told us we were attracted to foreigners so much, but they scared us against Chinese because they said, be careful with Chinese, because with Chinese, whatever they see is food. So, you know, we were always careful they might see us. So we would run to whites and we want some sweets and those things that cause diabetes. But we would run away from Chinese, and we were scared of them. But thank God I came to IS. I have Chinese classmates, Chinese friends, and I thank God I'm still alive. And so I think here at IS is a nice place to learn to work on our attitude and to know what is racism and put out of our lives. When we change, everybody around us will change.
Thank you so much, Dan. If we leave IAS the way we were when we came, then somewhere in our education we have failed. I'm not saying IAS is perfect, has no issues. Yes, there is always room for improvement. But with this multicultural setting, if you leave with your master's, your PhD, the same way you came, something has gone wrong. Pastor Ebenezer, 1 minute, please give it to us. What should we do?
I would say that no matter the situation, IAS is far, far better than many places. That is the truth. When it comes to racism, IAS is far better. And I doubt if racism can be eliminated completely until Christ comes. I don't know. The only place there might not be racism is heaven. That's one I'm very sure. But what can we do to prevent it, those ones, the subtle ones? I would say, number one, our professors here, when you are teaching, use materials that is diverse. Because you have diverse people in your class. Okay? It helps. Use diverse materials. Sometimes when I am presenting a devotion in class, I use music from Africa and they like it. Okay? So let's use some of these. Some of us too, we don't want to use our own music, but they are powerful. And so let us be diverse, intentionally diverse in presenting our materials to the students. And then we can also talk about it like we are doing now. So this is a big thumb up for this program. As we talk about it, we are educated, and then we know how to handle it, how to avoid it. And so let's talk about it. And if you also see someone being harassed, speak up, say it. Because when you do that, you are helping to prevent it. Don't be mute, say it. But sometimes that is a culture here. It's difficult to say. But we can voice it out. Once we went to the jail, we didn't use our van, and we were using the public transport. And when we were coming, one of our colleagues sat down, like you were saying. There were 3 girls who came. The bus conductor said, "Hey, that is a spade. Go and sit beside him." They were giggling, making some noises. They never sat down. But I spoke to them. Speak up. Because if you don't speak up, they will put you down. So help. That is what you can also do. And like what she said, let there be mutual respect. If we respect each other, I'm very sure you will not esteem yourself higher than the other person. So these are some of the little things we can do to prevent or avoid it. Eliminating it, I doubt.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ruth, you have the last word.
Okay, how can we avoid racism or discrimination in IS? First of all, I think it should start at the student orientation, because I believe many students come in and they're not sure of what they're going to meet until they're here, and maybe until they go to their apartments and in class, and you're like, there are so many people from different cultural backgrounds doing things differently. I believe if it is tackled at an introduction letter, maybe to the students, and at the orientation level, it might do something. That is one. Secondly, I believe that don't treat negativity by being negative. Be positive. For example, like for my girl, little by little, we started inviting the classmates. They started coming to my house. They loved our food. Every Friday, we had guests for chapati. So it brings down things. And another thing, when I go to class and there is all these things, focus on your work. Do your best. And I can say that this one has also earned us, as a family, so many people from different races visiting my house. Not just because they want to visit and talk to us. They need sometimes something academic help, something they saw you good in. They notice something about you. So if you're discriminated, don't sit back and say, I'm discriminated, I'm not going to do anything to anyone, I don't want to talk to anyone. If they come for help, help. And this makes a big difference.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank all of you for everything you have shared with us. A few things here that we have learned. Number one, we need to recognize that racial discrimination is real, and it's real all around the world. Number two, we need, after we recognize that it exists, we need to talk about it. We need to be educated about it. Because if we don't talk about it, it will continue actually affecting so many people, while we could have talked about it and changed a few things. Number three, let's learn to love one another. If we cannot live with one another on this planet Earth, how in the world do we plan to live together throughout eternity with people that we don't like? If we have questions or comments or suggestions, please email us at united@ias.edu. Because this topic is very, very hard. We don't want you to send the questions to Ayas because these are not the views of Ayas. These are just personal views. We want to thank you so much for being with us, and we hope that you will take what you have learned from here to mingle effectively with people from different races, colors, cultural backgrounds, linguistic backgrounds, countries, nations, and even continents. Until we meet again next time, we want to encourage you to remain united in diversity.